Well, the Nigerian government, like you said, seems to be focusing on corruption. But there is no greater corruption than what is happening now, in the sense that the federal government actually robs all the component parts of the country, that is the state governments and the local government, rob them of revenue, or perhaps mop up this revenue and bring it to the center, where some of the states, or most of the states, can't even pay salaries to their workers. Items like driver's license, like registration of vehicles, even sales tax that should go directly to the states and local government are being mopped up by the federal government, and then a little pittance are thereby distributed to the states in return to manage their affairs. That is why the people of Nigeria are clamoring for devolution of power, or what you call structural adjustment, or true federal system. Until we have that, where you can have most of the items on the exclusive list of the federal government has to go on the concurrent list, in which case both the local and the state, and in fact the federal government, can actually act on items on those lists, and then we can actually leave in the exclusive list items like the foreign affairs, or items like the post office or the armed forces can remain in the list of the federal government. That is what Nigerians are clamoring for. If you look at the news this week, it's about the massacre of almost 200 people in the central region of Plateau State. And this happens because the governor of the state has no command structure. He has nothing to say to the police to arrest the situation. There is no state police in that region, only the federal. All the governor could have done, can do, is to appeal to the president or the inspector general of the police, who is stationed in the federal capital, to help the people. And this has been lacking. And Nigerians have been calling for the government, for the constitutional authorities to create a system that allows the individual states and individual local governments to be able to serve the people, by not tying down their hands in doing their constitutional duties.
Earlier, Dr. Rona Were said that Kenya is a male-dominated system. She could, of course, have also said it is patriarchy. What about Nigeria?
Well, the problem is not that of women versus men in Nigeria. The question is that we should have a system that works for all, and then in the local centers, then women can participate. We have no problem. Women have participated in all the in most of the elections. If they feel to, if they feel they have to, they will. It's not a problem for us, so to say. But we have to work out the constitution to be able to be responsive to the need of the local people first. Then women, I've heard people say we should devote 35% of elective office to the women. I don't think we have any problem with that.
I see.
But how? Yeah, we don't. It's 35% of the positions. In fact, the way I look at it in Nigeria is that women can have the lion's share if they are competent enough to be able to. And there are a lot of competent Nigerian women that are ready to actually come out. But right now, what are they coming out to do? They are hampered by the law or by the federal might. the federal government is not allowing the localities to be able to carry out the functions that will serve the need of the if care is not taken, and let me say this for emphasis, if care is not taken, Nigeria may be sitting on a keg of gunpowder because it may lead to war. Look at what is going on in Plateau State, like I said, this week. More than 200 people have been murdered. And the government, the federal government, the president seems to be nonchalant about it. And we are saying that this is an example of devolution of power. If the locals have control of their police, obviously 200 people will not be slaughtered. And this goes beyond allowing women. Women can easily come in their localities and run for office. We have no problem with that in Nigeria. I mean, there are women in our Senate, there are women in the House of Assemblies, there are women all over in politics. However, we are saying that bring it to the local government, the state government should be the first line of government entities to carry out some of these reforms that we're talking about.
To what extent has the three-tier system succeeded, for example, in taking services to the people? Because there are some critics who say that, on the contrary, what probably it has succeeded in doing is creating some jobs for the elite.
Yeah, exactly. The three-tier system is on paper. What is the point of having a three-tier system when the federal government of Nigeria takes 56% of the revenue accruing to the government? 56%, 32%, 32% are shared by the 36 states, and 10% by 774 states. I mean, local governments. Now, when you look at now we talk of corruption. When you have too much money in your hand in the federal government, that is why you are able to waste. For instance, let me give you an example. Can you imagine that the federal government of Nigeria actually controls the police force throughout the territory? Now, we have 180 million people. The federal government controls, all this. It's so bad that the agency that controls traffic is actually managed by the federal government. What then remains for the local government, the state government? Nothing.
I see.
Absolutely.
I see.
Now, what we are having is a situation where a few people sit in the federal government. Once you capture power in the federal government, now you control this destiny of every Nigerian. And people are finding this to be unacceptable. It shouldn't matter to us who becomes president, for instance. If we can go about our normal duties, the education of our children are actually taken care of, and most of the things you need to do are taken care of. Then remaining the external affairs and all that, it shouldn't matter. But in the case of Nigeria, once you capture the federal government, now you have the destiny of 180 million people in your hand. And you can do whatever you want to do with it.